Hello, I am Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about trading, which is coming to Puzzle and Dragons with the upcoming maintenance. So, by the time maintenance has concluded, we will now have access to trading. So, trading is obviously going to be one of the most exciting and highly anticipated aspects to come to PAD for North America and EU. However, there will be obviously some restrictions in place because it could very easily get out of hand. First and foremost, there will be no trading of any monster that sells for 100 monster points or more. That means all rare machine cards are off the table and you're reduced to only certain farmables. Now, these certain farmables can include boss drops, evolution materials, snow globes, pies, jewels, king tans, and any other delicious thing you can think of. Furthermore, all cards that are traded will transfer over their pluses and latents. So that means you are able to trade farmable cards while having pluses go alongside with them. So this article/video will be explaining how the trading process works, provide you guidance on what are desirable items, establishing a baseline value for at least starting trades out, because I'm going to be giving you a stamina baseline of how much it costs to acquire the average material, how to improve your own desirability, and how to make the most out of trading if you own 2 unique accounts. Apparently, if I record at midnight, it's incredibly loud, the road I'm in, so I'm going to close the window. Alright, so now it's even hotter, not just because I'm in the room. Now, trading in Puzzle and Dragons checklist. So there are going to be a few key points you have to keep in mind before, and this little checklist will give you an idea of what you must have before you can actually begin trading. You must be rank 110 or above. To be honest, that's relatively easy in this day and age. You must be friends with said trading partner for at least 30 days. Tradable cards must be worth 99 monster points or below. So that means if you try and sell a particular card, if it sells for more than 99, you are unable to trade it. Each trade will cost 100,000 gold, so that will cut down on a lot of the chatter you may or may not see. Traded cards must be of the same rarity and stars, but again, we can kind of mix things up and you'll be able to find ways to overcome that. And remember, all pluses and latents will be transferred over with every single trade. So setting up trades. So basically trading will have 2 different players. There's going to be the host and the searcher. So the host is the player who creates the trade room, so to speak, in that they are going to be showcasing what they want to trade away and what they expect for in return. And the searcher, by comparison, is able to basically browse through their friends list for all the different trades available and kind of pick and choose what they want to actually acquire. So the hosting process essentially is you setting up a virtual shop. You're basically displaying your wares for trade that you wish to basically exchange for something else in mind. And you can use this for several different purposes. For instance, you can use it to help even out color distribution of your pies. For instance, let's say you have way too many flam peas, but no bub peas. You can trade your flam peas for bub peas, and then you're in a win-win situation, because there will be obviously someone out there who has the exact opposite problem of yourself. You can also trade away excessive materials for something you cannot actively farm or you don't want to farm willingly. So say you have access to some certain rare high-end materials, but you don't want to play the low-level stuff. You can trade the high-level stuff for the low-level stuff, and you'll basically benefit each party. You don't have to replay the easier levels. You can focus on the hard content you want, and the newer players get something great in return. And you can also trade away value-added cards, which is something I'm going to explain a little further down in this article. So basically, hosting is the easiest way to acquire exactly what you want, because you control the trade. You're saying what I want and what I have to offer. However, that can be restrictive in that not everyone may or may not necessarily want what you have or have what you desire. So you may have to either kind of loosen up your trade expectations, either by lowering the requirements of things that you want or potentially becoming a searcher on your own. So the searching process. So basically, the searching process is the exact opposite. You are visiting virtual stores online, so to speak. You don't have to leave your house. You basically just browse through the menu and see what is for trade. Now, Basically, this is the easiest way to conduct trades because you can just see if there's any good bargains, or there's something you may need, or there's something that you can get rid of that you have excess. It doesn't cost you anything to look, only you pay gold when you actually conclude a trade. So one thing to keep in mind is when you are searching for a trade, it's highly recommended you don't have commonly used materials favorited, because if you do, you may or may not actually show up that you actually own those cards, and you won't be able to trade because they're favorited. Remember, cards have to be unfavorited to actually trade them. So how is trading going to benefit the player base? Well, first and foremost, it's going to help even out the RNG, or randomness factor, in pad, because a lot of the drops are random in nature in terms of the color distribution. You can help even everything out, because what you may have as an excess, someone is going to have as a deficit, and because of that, you basically are going to benefit both parties and everyone's going to be happy. Furthermore, you can collect various things that you don't want to farm or are too hard for you to farm by offering something that people will always find desirable. So for instance, in my opinion, plus 297s are going to be the most common commodity. It's a universally desirable item. Everyone can use more 297s. It's not just like, say, flampies, which only benefit fire heavy boxes. Everyone wants a 297. So by using 297s as kind of like the baseline currency, you can actually acquire whatever you want, so to speak. So another kind of extension of that is having, say, plus 99 of a specific stat. Mostly because a lot of rare machine cards pop out with 50 pluses stacked onto one attribute, and that's kind of awkward. So say you have plus 99 in attack, someone who needs attack pluses will probably trade you, and they'll almost trade you at the same rate as plus 297 because it's going to be a similar net value overall. Finally, if you have rarer / older collab drops, you are able to trade those away, and people will be willing to pay big money for them. So I want to set up or establish a baseline for trading, because I'm going to use stamina cost as the currency to measure trades, because stamina is to a certain extent the limiting factor in Puzzle and Dragons. If you have enough stamina, you can acquire most things in the game. Obviously, your own personal level of progression will influence what you can or cannot actually clear, but let's assume you can clear everything in the game, therefore everything is up for grabs, and it's just stamina / time that's your limiting factor. However, time is subjective because some people clear things faster than others, so I'm just going to use stamina as the baseline value. So in the following chart / table, I'm only going to be evaluating the stamina cost from their most commonly found efficient medium. So for plus sakes, that means Starden is going to be used as the baseline. Yes, we have an event occurring right now that gives plus 15 from Descend bosses, but that doesn't occur very often, is not guaranteed. So I'm going to be using Starden as the baseline. Same with like Tamadra Infestation, Pre-Draw Infestation, so on and so forth. I exclude gift dungeons or special challenge rewards for the stamina cost factoring into these equations. So for a plus 297, the effective stamina cost is 750. And I've assigned a point system alongside. Basically, it's stamina divided by 5. And that means a 297 is worth 150 points. It's just going to be an easier way to evaluate things because we're using smaller numbers. Specific 297s are 50. Each pie is worth basically 10 points, because in theory, if we're playing in co-op, you only need 50 stamina in co-op to get a pie. I guess specific color pies would be more restrictive, but pies are a little more plentiful at this point in time. King 10s are even more plentiful, they're only 7.5 points. A generic Descend boss with no skill ups and unevolved is only 5 points, but we can add value, which I'll explain shortly. Spirit Jewels are basically just 3 points each. They're very common with Spirit Jewel Rush. Specific Ideal Killers. Basically, it's one of the drops that I've denoted as something that's challenging to acquire because they drop from a challenge dungeon. It's Arena 3. Yes, challenges do give them, but they're not as consistent as Arena 3. And a specific killer is going to be worth around 90 points. Like, they're going to be very desirable because it's 9 different killers that can drop from Arena 3, but to a certain extent, only the big 3 of Dragon, Devil, Machine are going to be exceptionally popular. I've talked around, and SDRs, Skill Delay Resists, are probably about 80 points. Like, they're about a 1 in 8 chance to drop from the events when they occur, so they're actually quite challenging to find and acquire. 1 Orpharian part, excluding the head, is worth 20 points. Again, maybe if you want multiple specific ones, it can be a little higher. Again, you take these point values with a grain of salt. I'll explain that more. Snow globes are maybe 20 to 50 points each, and Tamadra's is only 2.5 points. So Tamadra's is kind of something you just throw in as an afterthought. So basically this chart like does not take into consideration like your own personal experience playing pad. Like for myself personally, I am able to clear every dungeon in the game, and thus I can acquire anything I want in theory. So because of that, nothing is hard for me to get necessarily compared to like a newer player who will struggle to even touch Colosseum. So again, these points values assumes that everything is at least clearable, but naturally the specific ideal killers and Orpheum parts are going to be very desirable and hard to get by comparison. Furthermore, when we have various events occurring alongside of basically anything, there are going to be enhanced ways to acquire various drops. So right now we have these monthly time limited descends and gives us plus 99 for 25 stamina. So we can basically get a 297 for 150 stamina. Obviously that's way less than the specific points from this trading baseline chart. So when there are specific limited time events occurring, it's going to devalue certain components because this is kind of like the baseline value. They can only go down in theory in points. Like those 297s become 150 divided by 5. That is basically just 30 points. Like a 297 becomes 30 points all of a sudden just because of this current event that's occurring. And this is going to be greatly affected by supply and demand. Because supply and demand is a very basic economic principle that basically helps govern pricing for various commodities. Like in essence, like if there is ample supply, like lots of the thing available, and the demand is lower, the prices will go down. So that kind of is occurring right now for these monthly time limit descends because there's so many 297s floating around now, especially towards the end of the month, the demand will be lower because everyone is going to acquire effectively 10 297s this month. Basically on the flip side, if the demand is very high and the supply is low, the prices go up. So let's say there has been a severe shortage of plus eggs around. We haven't had like 10 times descends. We haven't had start in for a long time. We haven't had any of these special events. Plus eggs become more rare and scarce, and therefore their price or value will rise. So you kind of can view every commodity kind of like a seesaw, like when the demand's high, the price is low, and vice versa. So like at this point in time, at least when this article was published, the King Tans were readily available from Descend bosses or Descend dungeons. So you could acquire King Tan for just 25 stamina. So there was massive stamina savings overall. However, that's a limited time event. It's gone now, and those King Tans are going to be increasing in value as we go further and further away from that event. It's going to start equalizing out more towards their baseline value here. So if you were an intelligent individual, which everyone who watches my videos are, you would hopefully have stocked up heavily on those King Tans. So even though they may not be in high demand coming out of the event, if you wait a couple of weeks, the demand is going to rise because there's going to be a shortage of them. And because of that, you can start charging a bit more, and you can basically put yourself ahead in the long run. And we can apply that concept to any special event that has things discounted. Right now, plus eggs are quite bountiful, but as we end the event and we don't have events that have plus eggs readily available, they will rise in value and demand because less and less people have them to spare. So we can apply this supply and demand concept to every commodity in pad. So it's a matter of just realizing what event is occurring right now, realizing what is valuable, having the foresight to acquire ample supplies of them, and then trading them away after the event when they are in more demand. So how can we add value to our trades? Now, basically that above chart is the baseline value of everything, and the Descend bosses is only 5 points per boss. However, we can add value because we can trade things with other players. And remember, the card transfers over of pluses, skill ups, and latents. So if we're going to use Zeus Dios as an example, Zeus Dios is probably one of the most universally desired farmable cards in the game. However, it takes a bit of effort and stamina to actually make him max skilled. And if we're to take a base Zeus, we need a base plus 14 others for max skill. So 15 Zeusai, and 4 King Tans to max skill. So this actually results in 105 points total, but you added significant value because you took the time out of your life to actually farm this max skilled Zeus Dios. So even though it's only 105 points, some people might be willing to trade a 297 for it, because right now with this event, the 297s are ample and bountiful, but the Zeus Dioses are obviously not bountiful. So like for myself, I have a max skilled Zeus Dios, I have max skilled Zerog Infinities, I'm able to trade them away. People would be willing to trade, I'm pretty sure, because I've saved them so much time and effort. A lot of players may or may not be more casual. They play their limited time monthly for plus 99. 3 days, they could have traded a 297 for, say, a max skilled Zeus Dios. That's time efficient for themselves and stamina efficient technically as well, because the monthly quests are just so lucrative for the most part. So this is why you don't have to follow the chart one-to-one. If you're adding value, it's harder to place a value on time, because like time as well as difficulty is something that can fudget the numbers, so to speak. So if you also take the time to acquire like rare/annoying drops for specific evolutions, especially if you time it for a new evolution release, you can be in high demand. Because for instance, the Ripper Dragons are an annoying evolution path. They're not difficult, they're just annoying. They require several evolutions, a bunch of experience, and they get to acquire from many different dungeons. So if you have a lot of evolution materials lying around, acquire a Ripper Dragon, evolve it, offer to trade it. Acquire those golems that you need for like all the machine cards, evolve it, trade it. Like, people are going to be willing to pay something for it because it has meaning and value at that point in time. So trading with alternate accounts. So if you own multiple accounts, you obviously have an advantage because you basically have essentially double the stamina and the aspect of playing in co-op. So your stamina has tremendous spending power, so to speak, because you can play more. And if you are playing with yourself, you will obviously be willing to trade with yourself more loosely because it's still benefiting yourself. Like, you can make a bad trade from one account to make a great trade to the other. Like, you don't mind. It's your two accounts. You're willing to do those sacrifices if needed. So from my vantage point, there are two types of alternate accounts. Basically, one type of alternate account that's more on par with your own current main account, such as my Mantastic and Fantastic account. They're relatively on even footing. They clear similar amounts of content. But the other type of alternate account is a newer one. So let's say I have a Mantastic account and I created a brand new account a couple months ago. That brand new account is going to have so much catching up to do. So it's kind of a matter of just piggybacking your way along. So I'm going to explain how you can maximize it when you have those two types of different accounts. So if your accounts are on equal footing, like Mantastic and Fantastic, you basically have the capacity to clear the same level of content. Everything is accessible to a certain extent, and the main disparities are going to be your rare machine collection, as well as the randomness drops from various gift dungeons or limited time events. And you can use trading to basically even out those disparities. So for example, like, one of my accounts I think has significantly more shine peas than the other one. In theory, I could trade to even them out if I really wanted to. It's just a small thing you can do. Same with monster experience. One account I think has a lot more dark cards than the other one, so that's lacking in dark experience. I can basically pull some dark snow globes from one account and donate to the other one, and I can make whatever trade I want because, again, it's my two accounts. I treat them relatively equally, so I can make less ideal trades. I could trade a snow globe for a random evolution material. I won't mind because it's still myself. So this is going to help you acquire drops of your choosing. It can help you funnel killers over if you need specific killers for certain team setups. And it's just a great way to basically optimize it for yourself. So because of my two accounts are well developed, I'm able to acquire the rarer, harder to acquire things, and I tend to lack a lot of times the more tedious things overall. So because of that, I am able to start trading with other players that have a bigger gap between myself. And that's what I'm explaining in the accounts with a larger gap. So obviously you can trade with other players, but let's say there's a larger account gap. So one account can clear basically all the content of the game. The other account is newer. It struggles to clear content even in co-op. So oftentimes you will have to make trades across, to a certain sense, difficulty to acquire levels. They could be the same rarities, but you have to basically kind of be donating almost one to another account. So if you own both accounts, you will have no problems giving your alternate account, the newer one, like all the jewels, pies, snow globes, pluses that it desires, because you got to basically just catch it up as fast as possible. So this can be a great way to help kickstart that account. Like, that's one strategy of using an account with a larger gap, just help promoting it all the way up. On the flip side, the other option is using that newer account to springboard your main account. Now that sounds a little misleading because wait, how can a newer account help springboard my main account? Well, the answer is relatively simple. You just use that new account to collect all the gifts that are possible and just donate them across. So that means your alternate account who could say clear the plus 99 descends every single day could effectively donate 10 297s over the course of a month. That's a pretty sweet deal overall. Basically, you're able to use all those gifts or easy to clear dungeon or challenges and just funnel all the rewards over. You basically double the effective rewards on your main account while your alternate account just basically collects things. You can't donate obviously rare machine cards, but you can funnel over all these nice rewards. So this is an excellent way to help utilize your alternate account. It's a way to propel your main account overall. So another good example is stamina. Like your main account has certain goals they want to achieve, say every single day, and you may or may not have stamina to divert to easier dungeons. So what you can do is use your main account to tackle those hard dungeons that you want to play, and use your alternate account to play the easier dungeons. So for example, in Monday Dungeon, it can drop the various colored golems, and those are used for various evolutions. Now, if your alternate account can play that Monday Dungeon, they can get those golems, they can get their own collateral rank up benefits, but then they can trade those golems over, which your main account did not want to play. Like it may have been not efficient to play Monday Dungeon, so using that alternate account stamina to find these easier to acquire materials is a very beneficial way to kind of abuse the whole trading system. Again, you can do this with all your other friends. Say you have friends that you got new into the game, you can do the same thing. You can offer them like jewels or even pies for those things, and they'll probably be willing to trade you. So in conclusion, trading is going to be one of the most exciting aspects to come to Puzzle & Dragons because it's going to help strengthen the community overall because there's a lot more community interaction. Because Puzzle & Dragons, to a certain extent, can be a very soloistic game. It's easy to feel detached from the community. So with trading being put in, we have the option to interact significantly more. And I think this is exciting because I have quite a few exciting things I like to trade away. Like I have some Zerg Infinities, I have some Zeus Dioses that are max skilled, and I'm certain a lot of players would be interested in trading various hot commodities with myself. So another thing I want to stress is that I do have a well-populated Discord server, and I do have a channel dedicated specifically to trading. It's called Trade Chat, not Black Market Channel. But the main idea is that Trade Chat can help facilitate either friendship making, so you have trades in the future, or even just trying to determine like market value pricing for various items because things will ebb and flow over time. So let me know what you think about trading in the comments below. How do you plan to maximize your trading experience in the upcoming weeks? Hopefully you all have a mantastic day and happy puzzling.